This is one of the most ambitious housing estates anywhere in the world. It is a vast complex of 4,000 apartments, public facilities, cultural institutions and civic spaces connected by elevated walkways. In the heart of London, it is a unique chapter in the story of British council housing, and its rise and fall is a tale of politics, power and design at its most potent. When much of London was flattened by bombs in World War II, politicians seized the opportunity to rebuild with radical new ideas and metropolitan thinking. This estate is perhaps the pinnacle of that project. This is the Barbican.
The Barbican was aimed at middle-class professionals, but at the time, inner-city living was unfashionable.
Families who did live here got bombed out. They won't want to live in the city again.
The City of London should have more to offer than profits. Without a living community, it's just a factory town.
Who wants to live beside a railway anyhow?
Well, now's your chance. Move the bloody railway.
So the architects introduced a rich cultural programme with an art centre, music school, restaurants, pub and a cinema. But they also worked hard to present the estate as exclusive and safe. From the inside, the estate is a lush landscape of plazas and gardens, but from the outside, it seems somehow impenetrable and confusing. It isn't obvious how you get into the Barbican, and that's exactly the point. By incorporating unintuitive thresholds, imposing walls and hidden entrances, the architecture discourages passers-by from wandering in.
As well as physical defences, the architects introduce a layer of poetic references to London's old city wall which runs through the site. In Chamberlain, Powell and Bond's hands, their semicircular shape becomes a visual motif which recurs throughout the site, tying the scheme together architecturally.
This is architectural storytelling at its most accomplished. Yes, the Barbican is a housing estate, but it is also a castle, a sheltered sanctuary encompassing everything its inhabitants need, a fortress within the city.
The Golden Lane estate draws from European modernism. It looks great in the sun, but on an overcast day, feels somehow dead and flat. So here at the Barbican, Chamberlain, Powell and Bond try to create a more British version of modernism, filled with texture and plants. So even on a miserable English day, it still feels visually dynamic and alive. This rough surface was created by labourers literally hammering chunks out of the cast in situ concrete by hand. Elsewhere, ribbons of cantilevered balconies are softened by plants cascading down the facades like hanging gardens.
There are over 100 different flat types here. The idea was that residents would move from apartment to apartment as they climbed the economic ladder. The low-rise blocks contain largely 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, while the 3 towers contain 3- and 4-bedroom homes, with shared balconies acting as fire escapes.
But at the Barbican, our view is of private gardens and residents-only walkways, again enhancing this idea of exclusivity. These days we think of the role of council housing as providing a safety net for the most deprived, but not accommodating the middle class. However, when the Barbican was conceived, the political consensus was very different. This was an era that had just created the National Health Service and comprehensive education. So the idea that the state should take a hands-on role in providing quality facilities for all its citizens was live and flourishing. In 1979, as the Barbican neared completion, almost half the population lived in council housing. But in 1980, all of that changed. A newly elected Conservative government embarked on a radical plan of council house privatisation. Local authorities were forced to sell off their housing stock at huge discounts, or were prevented from reinvesting that money in new buildings.
Today, the housing market has failed to keep up with demand, and as the UK faces the worst housing crisis since World War II, radical solutions are again needed. The post-war political leaders rose to the challenge, and the Barbican stands as a testament to their daring efforts to rebuild the fabric of a broken society. Perhaps this estate, with its potent mix of intimate and open spaces, historical layering and social vision, now offers a critical architectural lesson for the governments of today.